Most investors have made up their mind on your pitch deck within 60 seconds. I'm actually Tate, I'm an angel investor, and I've looked at over 100 pitch decks, and I'm going to tell you about the 5% or less that I've invested in. Founders often believe you need a flawless, polished pitch deck to raise investment. You really don't. I'm going to tell you about the things that you absolutely must have in your deck and the things that really don't matter. And then we'll also review some decks that I've looked at recently that've got some great slides and some real key action points that you can take away and implement straight away. But what really matters is how you present your deck and how you pitch. It has to be authentic, it has to be believable, and investors have to really believe that you understand the problem and the solution better than anybody else. Being super clear and confident about the problem that exists and the pain and how your business solves that pain and that problem is so important. Tell your story and be really authentic. When Chris and I started Mina, we wasted weeks, if not months, trying to put together a polished pitch deck. We sent it to lots of investors and we got very little response. And then something clicked. We just had a conversation with an investor with no pitch deck. We told them about our story, our background, we told them about the problem, and we told them about the solution. We didn't have any slides, and something clicked that we just needed to communicate the pain much clearer than we needed to communicate the financials. I remember spending hours with Chris looking at spreadsheets, trying to figure out how we were going to include this perfect slide on what our 5-year revenue and bottom line was going to be. In reality, every investor knows it's made up, and no investors are really going to invest because you've got a nice slide on your 5-year projections. Fast forward 5 years, and I'm now an angel investor myself, and I've seen it well over 100 different pitch decks. The ones I pass on are the ones where I don't understand the problem or the solution within the first 30 seconds. The ones that grab my attention are the ones where the problem and the pain is clearly defined right at the beginning. If I can understand the pain very quickly, I'm very quickly bought into understanding, right, what is this business doing? How is it solving this problem? Once I'm hooked on the pain, the problem, and the solution, I then want to know about the team. Why you and your team are going to be able to solve this problem better than anyone else. What's your background? What have you done for the last 10 years? How did you get to this point where you've decided to build a business to solve a problem and a pain that's so important to you? Arguably, more important than the deck is how you present it. Investors want to hear a memorable story. They want it to feel authentic. They want to know what your background is and what led you to this point where you're trying to solve this problem and this pain. If it's really authentic and it feels really genuine, you'll immediately get investors hooked. I'm going to talk you through a deck I received, and I subsequently invested in this company. But the first thing I thought actually was this is a brilliant deck before I even thought it was a brilliant problem. So I'm going to show you some of the slides that they used and why I thought it was really good. So nice brand, obviously not the most important thing, but it's what I thought. And then the first slide is the founding team. Okay, so straight away we're in there with the 3 guys behind this, their background, not too many words, but some real standout blue chip companies there that I can think, okay, these guys have got some experience. So then we move on to the problem slide, and it's stated here in terms of the number of hours wasted. So what it's trying to do is set the scene, the pain, and we're now going to lead into the solution to this pain that they've stated. So what they're trying to do here is say, you don't need to know anything about this industry, but this is the problem. 2 hours wasted, 4 different systems, and that's before an estate agent even starts selling a property. And then they've tried to extrapolate it out, so 180,000 working days every year. So now we move on to the solution. It's a platform that helps estate agents automate their onboarding and compliance. So 1 sentence, and it gives me enough but to sort of imagine that, okay, this solution is going to eradicate that 180,000 days of wasted time. And then a bit more proof on top of that. So with Catini, estate agents spend 60 seconds in 1 system versus that 2 hours that we had at the beginning. Again, and you'll see there's very little words. Like I've probably got lots of questions here, but in some ways I can imagine the solution rather than having to tell me. This is another great slide. It shows that they've already got commitment from investors. And the one thing I'll say is most angel investors are like sheep. As soon as they see 1 move, they're all in. And if they can see 2 or 3 going, it's like, right, I don't even need to look at the deck, right? If those guys are in, I'm in. Here, they're clearly explaining the phases that they're going to go through. So they're going to raise the investment and they're going to deploy it on these specific things. So here they've said, we've got a tick. They've already done that. This is phase 2 and 3. And then the next lot of money is going to go to fund stage 4 and 5. Really important slide here. So this is all about the size of the market. Again, you don't need to go into uber detail. We just need to know you're solving a problem and that problem can scale. So one of the things that a lot of startups get wrong is they go out and try and raise money for an idea in a market that's so niche, not really investable. You need to understand the difference between a lifestyle business that can generate decent income for you as the founder and yourself, and a business that can generate a return for investors. What investors are looking for is, does your business solve a problem in a market big enough that's going to generate a return for them as investors and you as the founder? Another slide here that elaborating on that. So we're talking about a £71 billion market, okay, straight away, yeah, that's a big enough market. So the key takeaways from this deck are, it's really clear. Most of the slides don't have more than one sentence on them. I can literally flick through those slides and go, yep, get that, get the pain, get the problem, get the solution. I'm not having to read through paragraph. They've cut out all the fluff, straight to the point. Really clear about the team, really clear about the problem they're solving, and really clear about where the money's going to be spent, and not in any way leaving any ambiguity as to around, we might do this, we might do the other, we could do this, we could do the other. Straight to the point. I can flick through it in 60 seconds and get to the end and clearly understand what they're trying to do. So the key things that you need to include in your pitch deck are, number one, you need to clearly state the pain and the problem. If you can communicate the problem that you're trying to solve in a single sentence, or even less, a few words, that's brilliant, because investors will be able to buy into that, they'll understand it, and if they can understand it, the rest of the market and your customers will get it too. Number two, you need to clearly explain the solution. So you've stated the problem, you've stated how painful it is, now you need to say, this is why my business, my idea is going to solve this problem better than anyone else and better than anything else that's ever come before. Number three, talk about the team. Now, we don't need a bio of everything that you've ever done, your team's ever done, but a few sentences that say, this is me, this is what I've done, and this is why I'm going to be able to solve this problem better than anyone else, and this is my team, and this is why they're going to be able to support me to solve that problem. Very brief headlines, simple sentences. If you work for big brands, get the logos of those big brands on there as well, because that builds credibility. Number four, talk about how big the market is. Again, we don't need oodles of detail, straight to the key points, right? If your market you're trying to sell to is based on transactions, talk about how many of those transactions have happened in the UK, for example, in the last year. Talk about the value of each transaction, and then talk about what that equates to in terms of total revenue. If that's in the billions, immediately investors are going to say, okay, nice idea, huge market, I can definitely get a return on this. If the market's insignificant, it's immediately going to be a turn off. So you need to make sure, for your own sake as well, that you clearly understand that the market is big enough to build a business in. And number five, show there is demand. Now, this can be done in a few different ways. The best way to do it is show investors that you've sold your product. You don't need to sell it to hundreds of people, but if you sold it to 3 people, that's a great number, because 1 could be a fluke, 2 could be your best friend. But if you sell it to 3 people, there's a good chance you'll be able to sell that to 5, 10, 100 more. Now, not every product you can sell from day one. So if you can't sell it, another great way to do this, and you may have heard this already, build a wait list. Create a website, say this is the product I'm going to sell. It's not ready yet, but if you want to be the first to buy, join the wait list. Click this button. And if you can go to investors or put in your deck that you've got 100, 200, 1,000 people waiting to buy this product, immediately that gives investors confidence. And the third way, and this is more of a B2B style product, if you can talk to customers or potential customers that could be interested in buying your products, get them to give you some feedback, get them to write it down, even get them to make a video, because then that's a real authentic way for you to communicate to investors that here's a potential customer, this is what they think about my solution. Or a more formal way is letter of intent. Here's a letter to say that we intend to buy it, or even a pre-order. Any way you possibly can prove to investors that there is demand and it's not just a great idea that you've come up with that maybe somebody wants to buy. Number 6, pitch with confidence and be authentic. So when it comes to pitching, tell your story. Don't just jump straight into the facts and the figures or the problem and the solution. If you've got a background of working in this industry or feeling this pain for the last 10, 5, 2 years, tell investors about that story. When you're pitching, you can communicate far more than you can in a deck, and it can come across so much more emotional. And if you can get investors, especially angel investors, emotionally invested in your story and your business and why you've decided to solve this problem, you're already halfway there. One thing to bear in mind is everything we're talking about here is about pitching to angel investors. And angel investors are like private investors, like myself, generally people who are investing their own money. And quite often, when people are investing their own money, as much as they think they're making a logical decision, 99% of the time, they're making a very emotional decision. So when you're pitching to angel investors, the facts and figures, yeah, they want to do that, but most of the time they've made up their mind about whether they're going to invest in your business based on you and the story you tell them. And actually your deck and your financials and the size of the market, they're just trying to use that to justify the decision that they've already made. And I do this all the time. I see businesses and I think, gosh, I really like this person. They really know what they're talking about. I really want to see this person succeed. And then I'm asking them questions to try and justify in my mind why I've already made this investment. So that's very different from private equity and venture capital. And if you're not aware of what venture capital and private equity is, these are generally professional investors. So they are often investing a later stage. They very rarely invest in an idea. They want to see a proven business with some market traction, with some customers, with a team, and what they're doing is they're going to give you that money to do what you've already done, maybe faster, maybe spend a bit more on marketing and a bit more on sales. Yes, there is a bit of emotion there, but they really are looking for facts and figures. So everything I've said in this video is really about pitching for angel money. It's not about pitching for private equity money. Could be about venture capital, but really this is about getting individuals emotionally bought into your idea. If you'd like me to do a separate video on how to raise money for venture capital, please let me know in the comments and I'll talk you through more about what the deck would need to look like to get those guys interested. And these are generally bigger checks, so you're talking maybe 500,000 up to maybe 5 million. If there's one thing to take away from this video, I'd say be authentic and tell your story. Everyone is in business to make money, but the ironic thing is, if the only reason you're in business is to make money, you probably won't make any. The best businesses solve real problems. As a byproduct of solving a real problem really well, you will make money and you will be successful. A pitch deck isn't about polished slides. It's about simplicity, clarity, and communicating confidence. I'm Tate. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe for more founder insights.